Hello and welcome, I am MotoristX and welcome to an edition of Lore Wheel Drive, where I talk about niche automotive lore, history, and subjects of the like. Today I'll be sharing with you a brief history of Volkswagen R, and later on we'll take a look at some of the greatest cars that have ever stemmed from this brand. But before we dive into any of that though, I'd recommend subscribing to my channel if you'd like to learn more about special automotive operations and topics like this in general. When it comes to my work, I make content for all different types of car enthusiasts, but with this series in particular, this is for all my history buffs, spec nerds, and taxonomy masters. Essentially, if you love to classify different cars and really understand the differences between all these variations, as well as the history behind so many different nameplates, Lore Wheel Drive is going to be a series for you. Now, having said all that, let's talk about Volkswagen R. So Volkswagen R is the badge reserved for Volkswagen's highest performing models. It was first used on a special version of the 4th generation Golf known as the Golf R32, and ever since then the badge has been reapplied and used on many other iterations of the Golf as well as other Volkswagen models. Cars under this badge are produced by Volkswagen's in-house tuner, Volkswagen R GmbH, and were made to really be tributes towards Volkswagen's endeavors in motorsport. I mean, the name makes sense when you really think about it. The R in this badge is highly hypothesized to stand for racing, and I mean, why wouldn't it when every other brand that has R in their name somewhere most likely refers to that as racing as well. But yeah, talking about racing in itself, these cars are sometimes used as the go-to choice for Volkswagen when they decide to compete in motorsport. Two examples include the use of modified Scirocco Rs within the 24 Hours of Nürburgring and the debut of the Polo R within the World Rally Championship. Not to mention, Volkswagen R even produced their own sports prototype known as the ID.R, which has competed in the Pikes Peak Challenge. Going back to Volkswagen R as a whole, the cars here do represent the pinnacle of Volkswagen sports cars and performance, and as a result of this, many of these cars compete with cars from Ford's ST and RS lineup of cars. Some of them even compete with BMW M cars, and the majority of these Volkswagen R cars compete with their own platform mates and cousins from the Skoda RS and Seat Cupra lines too. One thing I will clarify though, because I see a lot of confusion on this, is that these cars do not compete with R-Line branded vehicles from Volkswagen. No, those cars are actually lesser or less performance oriented versions of these full-blown Volkswagen R models. These cars are also produced by the main company or one of the main factories of Volkswagen instead of the place where Volkswagen R cars are assembled. Think of the R line as what STI Sport is to Subaru STI, or what the Ford ST line is to the actual Ford ST cars. They are all just the lower, more affordable sporty trim of the full-blown sports models. But yeah, that's pretty much all you need to know about Volkswagen R. Now, up until this point, I have given you a brief history over Volkswagen R, but in a little bit, we're actually going to take a look at some of these models that pay homage to many of Volkswagen's other sports cars, as well as the people who like the affordable and daily drivable performance that this brand as a whole offers. Before we dive into the gallery of these cars though, let me clarify a couple of things. Number one, cars are only going to be named by their year, company, model, and trim level. I'm not going to be using any generational codes, chassis codes, or sub-trim level names. Number two, some of the cars in the video might have multiple engine options available, so for the sake of this video, I only chose the specs for the option that was either the most popular or the one that had the most information on it. Number 3, some cars also might have figures that just weren't publicly attainable, so for some of these cars, if not the majority of them, you'll see that maybe some of their data slots will just say that data was just not available. Number 4, few of the specs in this video might not also be 100% accurate, so for these metrics, I made some little estimations, and let me break these down for you. So for these metrics, I made some little estimations, and let me just go over this real quick. So for the car in question that I needed specs for, I compared it by looking at cars of its similar class and similar era, and I honestly just created some metrics based on how well I think the car in question might be expected to perform based on the metrics of the other cars that I already gathered. And number 5, taking into consideration the previous 4 points, I want you to know that I have done my best to provide you with both accurate and precise information for the cars listed in this video. Now that I have given you a brief history over Volkswagen R, and now that I have also addressed the side notes for this gallery, let us dive into the daily drivable and enthusiast heroes known as Volkswagen R. So guys, if you liked what you saw, go ahead and leave a like and consider subscribing to see more content like this. If you want to see me do this with another car brand, model, or type, comment down below which brand, model, or type you want to see me cover next. Again, I am MotoristX, and this was an edition of Lore Wheel Drive.